All the male relatives on my dad's side have had heart issues, and we've been aware of that.
Being twins is really different. As you grow up, you're each other's best friends, but you can also be each other's best competitors.
Well, we were pretty competitive, but I don't know that it was all that vocal. We just tried to do our best all the time, and you hope your best was better than his. Well, I'm Terry, this is Larry, and we're a couple of retired guys that are living the retired life now.
And we've been twins for as long as either one of us can remember.
In high school, we were very competitive. We had extremely good athletes in our school at that time in Oneida, and we were state champions in 1961 and 62 in track. That has not been repeated since, a team having back-to-back championships.
In 1965 and 1966, I played on 2 championship football teams at Northern State College.
I was a state trooper from 1967 till 1998. And during that time, I was stationed in different places in South Dakota. I ended up in Rapid City, where I was a captain and commander of the western half of the state.
I entered the Air Force in 1968, served in Vietnam, spent 30 years in the career field. I retired in 1998 as a colonel.
I was married in 1968.
It was 1967 for me.
I have 2 children and 3 grandchildren.
I have 2 children and 4 grandchildren.
We lead very active lives. Right now I'm Vice President, South Dakota Wildlife Federation, and I belong on the boards of several other outdoor organizations. And I've been spending some time in my wood shop the last year making little free libraries. I've made 2 that are in Rapid City, South Dakota, and 3 that are in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
I run the shot clock for South Dakota Tech basketball. I also operate the scoreboard for South Dakota Tech football, and I work with a CASA child.
We spend a lot of time outdoors. We like to hunt, we like to fish, and we like to play golf. And we certainly do that in the spirit of being outside, enjoying the outdoors, and it's very much a part of our lives.
Sometimes having so much in common isn't necessarily a good thing. This past July, I went to see Dr. Stroud for a pre-op physical for a knee replacement, and she discovered that I was in atrial fibrillation and immediately sent me to the emergency room. When I got to the emergency room at Monument Hospital, they did a number of diagnostic tests, and they determined I needed a cardioversion, which they did, which they shocked my heart and got me back into normal rhythm. Within a couple hours, I was cleared to go up to in a room overnight and then allowed to go home the next day. When I got home over the next 2 weeks, I started exercising a little bit, and I realized that there were some things going on with my heart that in retrospect, I should have recognized before the first ablation that I had atrial fibrillation. I just didn't realize it because it happened slowly over time. So this trip to the hospital, they decided to put me on blood thinners, and I was to wear a life vest, which is a device that goes around your body and monitors your heart actions 24/7 for 2 weeks. So during the 2 weeks that I was wearing the life vest, I was at home and restless and missing my activities, so I traded in my running shoes for walking shoes, and I started walking every day, moderately, but at least so that I have 30 minutes or so of exercise daily. So in 2 months' time, it was determined that my heart was in good enough shape that it was time to do the ablation. So I went back to the hospital, and Dr. Levine did the ablation, which was, again, kind of an anticlimax, because you go into the hospital, they lay you down and give you medication, and when you wake up, it's all done. There was never any pain at any time, and really, I was never apprehensive, because I've been well explained to me what was going to happen, and I felt comfortable in the hands of these doctors. During the course of my treatment, I had the opportunity to talk at length with Dr. Bajaj about my symptoms and the treatment and what would be expected in the aftercare. And it became clear to me as I looked back over the previous months before the AFib was discovered that I had had some episodes where I had had shortness of breath when we were walking hunting a couple of times, and when I was walking even here in the neighborhood, where I probably should have realized this was not normal. Instead of chalking it up to old age, I should have realized that there was something not right. And the real message in this whole production is that when you have those kinds of symptoms that are a little bit out of the ordinary, especially when you're in your later years, you need to take them seriously and seek medical attention.
Well, I have a little bit different condition. It has more to do with the electricity in the heart than it does with the structure. And one day, about 7 years ago, I was working out in the backyard, trimming some trees up on a short ladder, and I became dizzy and fell off the ladder, went unconscious. Got up, got back in the house. My wife called the 911, the ambulance folks came, and one of the first things they did is they ran a strip on my heart function, and they determined that I needed to go to the hospital. So I was taken to the hospital, and tests were done, and it was determined that I had an arrhythmia problem in my heart. Stayed in the hospital for a couple of days, continuing tests, and at the end of those 2 days, I was given a pacemaker. Started rehabbing within a couple of days, walking, exercising, extending that every day, and then about 3 weeks, I was back to normal. And at the doctor's direction, I was able to carry on with my life, no restrictions. And here we are, 7 years later, I'm still doing that. I exercise every day. During the 2 days I was in the hospital, I did a number of tests, including an echocardiogram and other tests. And through those tests, it was determined that I had a definite arrhythmia problem in my heart. So Dr. Teixeira, who's an expert in that, was consulted, and he determined that a pacemaker was the best solution to manage this problem going forward. So that's what happened. I was given a pacemaker, and I was allowed to go home. And after 2 weeks, I was brought back to Monument, and a stress test was given to make sure that everything was functioning properly, which it was. So at that point, I was released to normal activity with no restrictions from then until today. So I do exercise every day, and the heart monitor is there by my bed, and it monitors this pacemaker.
It's one thing to have an awareness that there's heart disease in your family and to see it affect your family members, but it's a completely different thing when it's you yourself. You're suddenly aware that you're vulnerable, that you need intervention, and it's important from that lesson to know that when you have something going wrong with your heart, something doesn't feel right, that you can't ignore it. You need to take action to see the medical authorities and make sure that you get the intervention that you need.
Well, when you have a twin brother, you have a friend for life, and we want to continue that. And because of the mission and the efforts of the American Heart Association, we're able to do that, and we're survivors. Well, there are a lot of reasons. Of course, most of them are because of family, and certainly because of him.
I think it's really important to recognize that the American Heart Association's success in finding these remedies for these heart issues gives us a chance to continue our lifestyle together along with our families in a way that makes it worthwhile to be alive.